I wish to tell you about the work going on in the Philippines that I've been personally involved in during these past 24 years. It started when I got news of a British travel agent from Eastbourne who had been arrested in the Philippines and subsequently sentenced to a 16-year prison sentence. I was shocked at the news in 1993 as it appeared as ITN News for all to see, and that was during my lunch hour when I was working as a lecturer at Fareham College. I was shocked because this travel agent was my brother Michael John Clark, just 2 years older than me. For the next 5 years we communicated by letter, and I gradually learned of his plight. His Filipino wife died of a blood disorder, and that he was losing his teeth, was losing weight and felt suicidal. But he knew if he died he would be going to hell. He knew that I was a Christian, as he had heard my testimony when he attended the church I was a member of in 1983. 1 year later, in 1999, I could tell from his letter that he was very much better, and he informed me he was convinced that Jesus was the Christ, the Son of the living God, through reading C.S. Lewis's book Mere Christianity and Dr. Martin Lloyd-Jones' book Joy Unspeakable, and that he was being helped by other prison inmates who too had become Christians. I wrote back to him instructing him to be baptised as a believer, and if need be get another inmate to baptise him as a Christian. He was helped by many prison inmates that had become Christians, and in 1999 was baptised by Lucas P. Dangatton in an old US Army oil drum within the prison. Lucas Dangatton was a former prison inmate himself, who too had become a Christian within that prison, but on his release in 1994 he returned to the prison as a religious volunteer and opened the New Bilibid Prison Theological Institute to evangelise prison inmates and teach the gospel of Christ. It was this group of inmates who helped my brother learn and understand the gospel of Christ. The following year, Lucas Dangatton and Reverend Joseph Kim, a South Korean missionary, arranged for my Christian friend Gordon Smith and I to visit the Philippines and go on a preaching mission not only to New Bilibid Prison, but also Angeles City and Barreto district jails and various churches. We called our mission Trojan Horse, and we were able to speak and preach to hundreds of inmates within New Bilibid Prison. New Bilibid Prison is the national penitentiary that housed at that time over 25,000 inmates in 3 compounds, the maximum, medium and minimum compounds, including penal farms. Michael was in the maximum compound that housed 13,500 inmates within 12 hectares of land, and in the maximum compound was death row, where 1,200 men were due to be executed by lethal injection. New Bilibid Prison was a former prisoner of war camp used by the Japanese in the Second World War. During our first mission to the Philippines in October 2001, Gordon Smith and I were so overwhelmed by the Christian work going on by the inmates themselves and with the aid of religious volunteers that I asked 100 prison inmates to write their testimonies on how they became Christians within the prison, with a view to publish their stories in a book that we would call Trojan Warriors. The following year, Lucas Dangatton and those teachers of NBPTI Institute worked with these prisoners to write and certify these prison inmates' testimonies. These teachers were William Ola Pollock, Anthony Dolan. These written testimonies were handwritten and were sent to me by post back to the UK by Lucas Dangatton, and in all there were 66 written testimonies that I compiled, and as promised published their stories of conversion from crime to Christ in our book Trojan Warriors. In August 2002, William Pollock was released from prison after 14 years, and we commissioned him and funded him to return to his own city and preach the gospel in Baguio City and Benguet provincial jails, including his family and friends. His testimony is number 62 in the book Trojan Warriors. The following year, in October 2002, we returned to the Philippines and New Bilibid prison and distributed the books, giving a copy to each of the inmates that had submitted their testimonies for publication. It was the intention that each inmate who had written their testimonies could use it as an instrument for evangelism, to preach the gospel to their friends and families in their own towns, villages and cities. In December 2002, I visited William Pollock at his home in Baguio to see how he was doing. And at that time, Lucas baptised Beth, William's wife, and Josie Ortez in a waterhole in Cypress Hill. Further to that, the following day, I baptised Josie's daughter Karin. After this, we went to Benguet Provincial and Baguio City Jail and baptised 8 souls in Benguet Jail and 22 inmates in Baguio City Jail as a result of the preaching and teaching of William Pollock, our first Trojan warrior in those jails, and his regular visits to the prisons since August 2002. Baptismal certificates was issued to each baptismal candidate. I stayed in the Philippines for 10 months and continued our mission work until I returned to the UK in 2003, and sadly my brother died of tuberculosis in May 2005 before our vision of bringing help to many was realised. William continued his mission work and formed the first Christ-centred church in Baguio City and worked with Lucas Dangatton within New Bilibid prison. William and I have worked together these past 23 years, and he has formed 4 other jail ministries and founded 12 churches, including a theological institute to teach monergistic theology, the doctrines of grace, and he has the oversight of the Christ-centred churches. These 12 churches are Baguio Christ-centred Church, BCCI, William Pollock Sr., Pilot Pinsanio Christ-centred Church, PCCC, Reverend Aldin Kayasban, Kamong Christ-centred Church, KCCC, Pastor Nardo Dumsang, Mines View Christ-centred Mission Church, MVCCMV, Reverend Chris Apron, Villa Foresta Christ-centred Church, VFCCC, Reverend Mario Binian, Cyangan Christ-centred Mission Church, SCCMC, Reverend John Wayne Felicimo, Ambassador Christ-centred Mission Church, ACCCMC, Pastor Joshua Selsidon, Labao Christ-centred Church, LCCC, Reverend Poli Asperez, Montelupa Christ-centred Church, MCCC, Pastor Dante Marcos, Lepenias Christ-centred Church, LPCCC, Pastor Eldon Marios, Nara Christ-centred Church, NCCC, Reverend Alfred Beta, Ario Christ-centred Mission Church, ACCC, MC, Reverend Roland Kaolai. William Pollock and Lucas continued their work in New Bilibid prison and in the other jails of the Philippines. I was honoured to visit and partake in the 20th anniversary celebrations of Christ-centred churches in 2022.